Harry, Charlie, welcome to the podcast. Want to introduce yourselves?
So yes, I'm Harry. I am probably familiar to some people from my rather annoying LinkedIn posts, but I'm the managing director of Tekton.
And you've also got Charlie McKeever, who most people will either know me from some kind of sales demo or maybe some kind of customer support request. But yeah, I lead up the operations team.
Nice.
Well, let's wade in with our first question and put some pressure on the boys. So what do you think our partners love most about the ZOEY platform?
Okay, start with an incredibly broad topic. Charlie, would you like to start, or would you like?
Yeah, I think for me, I think you have to take it from a few different angles. I don't think, we can sit here all day and talk about the product itself and what it can do. But I think for me, conceptually, it's more about where the product came from and why we chose to deliver it. It's not, for most people, just a billing platform. Obviously, that's what we put out on LinkedIn, and that's what we say we predominantly do. And yeah, that's our bread and butter. But I feel for a lot of the people I speak to nowadays, particularly who have come from other platforms, is they're looking at how they can kind of grow and transform their businesses. One, for both business structure and continuity, but also if they're looking to one day exit, they need a strong foundational platform. I think for people like, say, a sales director or something like that, we've obviously massively enhanced the customer portal and made it quite an API-driven platform.
See, it's quite interesting, like that you mentioned a sales director. Now, I would say when we first came with the notion of Tekton and creating ZOEY, I would think that the industry would not have deemed a sales director to have much of an interest in a billing platform.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely something that you hear all the time, is that you don't want sales to be on the billing platform, and that is so not true with this system.
Yeah. And we find that a lot of the deals that our clients are winning, they are leading with, okay, here's a quote, and I think you should have a look at our customer portal, because it's a huge transformational piece for their end customer.
We still get it regularly now. That classic phrase that I really have to admit I do not like is, well, aren't you just a glorified PDF? Yeah. And I think that is, and look, billing system's been around for a long time now, but yeah. I think that for our perspective is such a motivating factor to change the industry perception on what a billing system does, because the name, as Charlie rightly says, the name is slightly misleading. It is not just a billing system. And I think one of the things that our partners would really see as a huge benefit is its versatility, and actually what it offers, whether that's sitting there as the central piece of the jigsaw where everything links in. So whether that's your accounting package, that's your DB provider, that's your CRM, whether it's the provisioning, i.e. with networks, actually that billing system ends up being the crucial part of that jigsaw. And that's where I would say a lot of our partner base is the slightly more forward-thinking business who actually has readdressed their tech stack and gone, okay, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we were in a good spot. Actually, technology has changed considerably. Are we still in the same spot? Do we need to look to enhance it? Do we need to look to improve it? And they've actually found that Tekton sits there as a gateway between all of their systems. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that is often hard to explain in an hour demo.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing. I mean, a lot of the initial conversations I have with people is, oh, I use this CRM system and I use this billing platform. And I say, so how much do those two things talk to one another? And the general perception mainly that I have is they don't communicate with one another at all. So obviously that was a big thing that we introduced when we opened up our APIs for our partners. So that's allowed integrations into systems like Microsoft Dynamics and Salesforce and all those other kind of main CRM functions. But ultimately getting back to the usability of the people on the front line who are doing the general day-to-day customer support. When my customer calls in, can I see the information straight in front of me at any point in time, whatever system I go into? Yeah. We find a lot of people going, oh, I've got to look in the CRM, but that might be out of date. So then I'll double check in my billing platform. Why? That shouldn't exist.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I
think
completely agree with that. I feel like as well, we hear so often, because there's so many different platforms that our partners are using. Imagine how much time they could be saving by just looking in one place, and it's all there and it's all the same information and it's up to date.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point. So as well as the productivity angle, there's also the fact that if you sync your platforms up, the likelihood of error is so much less.
100%.
And I think actually we're certainly, our partner base is full of very fast growing businesses who are acquiring left, right, and center. They are bolting on groups of different staff members who all have different processes, and actually things get out of sync. And by having, and again, our platform is probably what we might touch on slightly later, is it's incredibly well structured. So therefore the opportunity to make a mistake is minimal. And that makes a massive difference when you've got, whether it's a salesperson, whether it's your provisioning team, whether it's your finance team, whether it's your billing team, if they're all got their fingers into the billing system, well, actually you need to make sure that people can't do too many different things and can't make mistakes. And I think that's one of the real powerful elements of the platform. The system is intuitive and clever enough to go, actually, no, what you're trying to do is wrong, and it stops you doing it in your tracks. Whereas I know historically, some of the other providers out there, it has been a little bit more free and a little bit more loose, which there is some merits to that. But ultimately, billing, the most important thing in billing is to be accurate. And therefore, the way our system is structured enables accuracy throughout.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of points to consider. I think the main thing to think about, and for our partners particularly, is we looked at it from a quite holistic approach. We fundamentally started with a very good billing platform that we knew could bill everything that we wanted it to be. But then what we looked at was, okay, so how do we appease the finance team who really wants to interrogate kind of profit and loss and understand any loss-making usage or rentals or things like that? How do we then integrate that directly into accounting platforms like Xero with full APIs? How do we then, do into other accounting systems, so Sage and QuickBooks and all the others? Then from a commercial angle, looking at, some of the partners who wanted to be a bit more clever with their wholesale purchasing. So for that, you need, a pretty comprehensive bundling and rating engine that you can then build and sell anything that you want to. So again, we covered that box. So kind of looking at it from a commercial angle, we can improve potential profitability, assuming the partner can find the means to do that. From the finance side, we're helping the accounts team with kind of improving their process. And then obviously operationally, we've got the kind of CRM integrations, APIs, etc. And then at the customer angle, we've then got that front end, customer portal. It's all branded in their own branding, again, to try and engage that end customer with that partner. We very much take ourselves out of the process. So it really is about these partners getting 4 or 5 products into their end customers and then making it a situation where it's very difficult for them to leave. And I think that's where we've kind of targeted it from a few different angles.
I think with say for partners who are new to telecoms, you say that using the ZOEY platform has been a nice, like,
So I think that's absolutely. So I would say, strangely enough, I think going actually back to when we first started, I remember a phrase sticking in my head, which is, there is beauty in simplicity. And ultimately, our platform, despite what's going on behind the scenes in terms of its, as Charlie rightly said, it's complex tariffing, rating, bundling, the system itself and the interface itself is so simple, it's so easy to use, it's so logical. And I would say that certainly for new partners, but then, to be honest, even existing large businesses, they often complain about their old providers having, you've got to go into 10 different screens to do something. And in ZOEY world, no, everything is wizard led. It's the most straightforward, logical process. Even when it comes to an invoicing stage, we have a checklist that has 8 steps on it. And if you follow checklist 1 to 8, you get to the end and your bills are clear and ready to post. And I think these are the things that, again, probably hindsight, allowing us to come in slightly later into the market, being that inverted commas new entrant. I know we're now no longer the new entrant, but being that new entrant allowed us to see things differently and go, right, what works and what doesn't? How do we then take a solution out to the channel that solves their problems. And I think, yeah, the simplicity of the system is one of the things that actually makes it stand out significantly. If you look at one of the kind of core fundamental aspects of the ZOEY platform is a tariff. Now, a tariff is something that is very uncommon to most people in the channel, and that sounds stupid because people think, oh, I know what a tariff is. Well, actually, no, a tariff means very different things in very different systems. We always describe it to partners is, let's say you're going to a car dealership and you're going to buy a car.
Right. You
buy a car, you don't buy an engine, 4 wheels, 4 doors, a windscreen, wipers.
You get the package.
You buy the package as one, and you just buy a car. And it's the same thing with our system. So a customer gets assigned to a tariff. So when you're adding new users, you assign it to a tariff. That tariff already encompasses all of those elements. So it has the doors, it has the wheels, it has the seats. Yeah. In our world, it has the fixed charge, i.e. the amount we're billing out. It has the rate card, it has the inclusive minutes, it has the inclusive texts, all those elements that for some reason the other systems haven't taken forward. And actually then a partner comes to us and goes, right, how do I add 200 services? And we go, oh, well, it's going to take you 2 minutes and it's 5 clicks. And they go, haha, you're joking. And we're like, no, we'll show you live. Mm-hmm. And those sorts of elements, they sound very simple. They sound the most straightforward process, but actually it's what we really excel at. And I think that's one of the key kind of things we find certainly in demos, isn't it? We can talk about, as Charlie writes at the start, we can talk about how we integrate with all these different platforms, the benefits from margin optimization for the sales team, for the support team. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, the fundamental basic principles of billing processes are done exceptionally well in our system. And that does stand us out from the crowd.
I think the added bonus to it as well is the renewals. And it's something that I personally really love about it is that it can help you track your renewals. So you're not then reliant on another system to tell you, oh, this particular service is coming out of contract. Actually, that our system does that. And that tells our partners, which again enables them to continue to sell and keeping their customers in contracts. You know, that's fantastic in my opinion.
I mean, it's quite interesting actually, Bethany. Obviously, you were a billing manager for a reseller using a different platform.
Yeah.
And I can well imagine for you joining Tekton, there is always that, I guess, professional skepticism where you sort of come in to think, well, okay, yeah, of course it's a different system. Of course, Tekton are going to say how much better it is, but truly, is it that much better? And I don't know what your opinion was when you first started, but I don't know if you were kind of almost like slightly blown away by, okay, well, this is ridiculously easy. All these things I struggled with before are really easy. And it's almost like I don't know if you felt like this, but it's almost like the penny kind of drops at that point. And you're like, this is how it's meant to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had one of those moments, as you were saying a minute ago, where it's like, oh, you can add 100 sims just like that. And it was almost like, you're joking. What, you can just add it just like that. And that has all of the bolt-ons that you might need, all of the bundles that you might need, everything that you want to sell. And it's just done. It's so quick. It's so easy. And I think, yeah, I definitely had that moment. And I think I sort of was used to a lot of different billing platforms and you know, all of them have their pros, but I was really shocked when I came in and looked at the system and I thought, wow, this is like, it encompasses everything that you want it to do, but it also looks brilliant and it's so logical in the way that it works.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most satisfying elements of when we do a demo to a customer, is there's always that moment where it clicks and the tone of the demo and everything changes because suddenly they go, okay, this was a bit different. Actually, I completely understand why this is done, and all the pieces fall into place.
Yeah,
so yeah, massively important. I'm sure we could go on forever. I'm thinking
I might need to let you finish up here.
Appreciate you both joining us for this intro podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I look forward to the feedback from the listeners.